What was your gateway, Taylor? Like, what year, where were you in your life when you first heard Taylor Swift, I guess?
Look, the year, I'm really bad with years. I literally think most of my life has occurred in the last 5.
Right.
So I couldn't tell you the year, but I'm sure someone can figure it out. But it was like literally like first single Taylor, which is bizarre and is like, there's not a lot of us out there. But I was still on MySpace. So that sort of gives you like a perspective. Do you remember on MySpace where people used to make those like avatars of like that you could use as your display picture, or you could like code it into your site, and it was like of your favorite musicians and they're all glittery and stuff?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I vaguely remember that. Like, I wasn't really big on MySpace, but I still had, like, what was it, your top 8 friends or something like that? Yeah, like, I still had those top 8 friends or top 6 friends who were, like, all my best friends from high school at the time. Like, that's all I remember from MySpace.
Yeah, well, 100%. I was super into MySpace, like to the point like I partially taught myself to code so that I could have my profile the way I wanted to have it. It was a real mess, and I used to like blog on there and stuff. Like I'm really glad that Justin Timberlake's era has deleted all of the old MySpace profiles, because I was just like 13, 14 and like I had so many opinions, and I'm like, I don't even want to know what those opinions were. Like what did I know at that point? But that was the age that I discovered Taylor. I was very much sort of coming into myself. And I was like listening to like My Chemical Romance and The Used and stuff.
Yeah.
I was very much in that like emo pop punk brooding teenager phase where like the world doesn't understand me. And then I stumbled across these like, but like little did everybody know I was really like glittery on MySpace and like had all these like different things. And I came across like avatars of her on DeviantArt, and I'm like, who is this like blonde chick with a guitar who looks very country? Because I think it was literally like the Teardrops on My Guitar like single cover was the avatar that I first saw.
Yeah.
And with it, in this like forum, someone had the song that you could also put on your MySpace page, and I listened to it, and from like kind of that moment I went, oh, I really like this. Like, I get this. I have crushes. Like, this is chill. Like, I like this. Like, until kind of like we started talking about it, I was still very much in the closet as a Taylor Swift fan for almost my entire life. Like, I'd been to concerts and a couple of people had been with me and like close friends knew I liked her, but like as a whole, like people in my workplace, every now and then they would find out, like after I'd been there for a couple of years, and they're like, oh, you like Taylor Swift? And it was almost like they looked at me like I was a completely different person.
Yeah. See, like, what was your first song that you heard of Taylor's and you were just like, this is for me?
Well, Teardrops was the first song I heard, but then it was Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw was a good one. I love Tim McGraw.
Like, I think that was the one that made me go, oh shit, I think I like country music a little bit.
Yeah, see, like, for me, like, I don't think it wasn't the internet that turned me to Taylor Swift. My cousin, who is, like, a bit older than me, he really liked country, and, like, ever since I was 12, I would spend every summer in Sydney, and we would just hang out, my brother and I, my cousin, and we would, like, drive around Sydney, and I just thought he had the most, like, no offense to him, I love him, he's my cousin, but he used to drive around in his car listening to country music, and just like a teen me was just like, fuck no, I'm not like doing this, I'm not into country, I'm not like, no, I just like my body rejected country music so much. And then when I was 17, he was listening to one of her songs, and I think it was Picture to Burn, and he was insistent that I would love this song and I would just like love it. She's great, he said to me, and I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna like this song. And like Picture to Burn, I heard it for the first time, and I was like reluctant to like it, so I was in denial. Like I was like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's all right, but it's not like I'm not loving it. And then the more he played it over the summer, the more I started buying into it, and then I started like going into other Taylor Swift stuff, getting into other Taylor Swift stuff, like from like Picture to Burn, I went to Our Song, which is so good. And then
still such a good song.
Such a good song. So good. And then like from there it went into like Tim McGraw, and Teardrops on My Guitar I went into, because, like, you know, everybody, like, whether you're straight, gay, like, queer, whatever, had a Drew. They had a Drew in high school, you know?
Oh, 100%.
You had a Drew who was just like, you were infatuated with, you were in love with, and you were friends with, but they just never turned towards you and didn't see you as, like, someone they could fall in love with, and you were just like, listen to this song, crying, because you were just like, he doesn't love me, blah, 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 and, like, that was my aesthetic in high school, like, just a bunch of unrequited love. And like, in my uni days as well, like, I was 17, but, like, I just finished high school, and, like, seriously, that song, just, like, Teardrops on My Guitar, spoke to me, to my soul, because I was, like, a romantic little bitch who was just like...
I think we all were.
Yeah. It was just like, I'm in love with this person, but they won't love me back. It's so tragic. So, yeah, I think that really, that first album, Taylor Swift, self-titled, really got into it. And now I'm 29, so I've been, like, a long-term Taylor Swift stan. Like, I saw her play at the Oxford Art Factory in Sydney, which is, like, a tiny venue, not an arena venue at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's not tiny, but it's like it's not like, you know, thousands of people in the arena. It's hundreds of people in a small arena, small, like, venue. So that's, like, when I was really into Taylor Swift, got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I had a very similar, like, when sort of the album came out and she started touring, and I mean, she did, like, an Australian tour almost straight up, and, like, for a young country music singer, that was kind of, like, bizarre to me that we were getting someone like that to come and play in, like, Brisbane and Sydney and sort of our capitals. Like, would make sense that she went to, like, the Tamworth Music Festival or something like that, but, like, I saw her in the, like, Tivoli in Brisbane, which is the same as Oxford, which is just that, like, super intimate. The tickets were really cheap. Like, anybody could go, and it was just, like, it was such a different experience. It was just this girl with her guitar. Like, there was none of the theatrics. There was none of the, like fucking big snakes and pyrotechnics that she has now, which is just incredible.
Yeah.
And it was almost, like, still one of my favorite shows that I've been to of her, like, because it's just her. And I think, like, the thing I connected with, because I think I was, like, slightly younger than you, because we're a couple of years apart, is the whole, you know, I was kind of in that stage of trying to figure out who I was, and along came this girl who, you know, was blonde, blue eyes, similar to me, and I'm like, okay, she looks like me, this is kind of cool, she's a bit awkward, like, but she's a really good songwriter, and she speaks to me, and I get this, like, I get this. And it was just so funny because through all of her songs, I was experiencing the exact same things through high school, which was just, like, having trouble sort of finding your people and not sort of knowing who you were and wondering why that boy or girl didn't like you, and, like, trying to figure out what all your emotions were, and, you know, is your family important to you, and, like, all this sort of stuff. And I think, like, just from day one, and I mean, it's a credit to sort of her as a singer, is I think she was so unapologetically herself that it was almost impossible, even with the push away, because I did experience that too, and that's why I've pretty much never told anybody I, like, actually religiously listened to her. Is, you know, like, it's, despite all that push away, you're like, no, this, like, there's this universal language of being a young woman that is, no matter kind of who you are, we all kind of align on that, holy fuck, this is hard, the world is scary, what's happening?
Yeah. And I think that's what, like, Taylor Swift is so good at, is that because, like, she has a fan base that I essentially think I grew with Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? My emotions, my perspective on life grew as Taylor Swift grew. And I think I would agree. Yeah. Like, I think that's what she's so good at, is that because she's so raw and so open, like, Taylor in the early years, like Taylor Swift, the album, and I'm thinking, like, Speak Now, Fearless, and then also the song 15 on
Oh my God.
the song 15, like, it's not exactly my favorite song, but I think the reason why I it's not my favorite song is because it's kind of holding a mirror up to myself
Yeah.
when I was younger, because it's so like, it's a song that you listen to, and she kind of taps into that aesthetic that I had when I was younger, that I felt like I had that I was younger, the where I didn't quite fit in, and I didn't have like a lot of friends, and I didn't, like, I was that weird girl, and I think that kind of is why I've stayed with her for so long, is because she spoke to me on a level that no other artist at the time was speaking to me, because she was like, if I was 17, she would have been 18, around there, or
Yeah.
turning 18. And we're going exactly through the same experiences and stuff like that. And I think that's why she's so successful, is that she was talented so young, but being so young, she also, like, was able to tap into the emotions that her fan base were feeling, that, somebody who's 20 or older, like in their early 20s or mid 20s, couldn't really do, unless you're like, the Selena Gomez's of the world, or the Demi Lovato's, or the Ariana Grandes, who, like, started in the industry really young and went through it. But I would argue that, like, lyrically, she's just on another level to say, like, oh no, I'm going to get, like, the Demi Lovato stands and the Ariana stands and, like, the Selena Gomez stands coming after me. But I personally think that she's just a better lyricist, in that sense, that she's able to write what she feels down on paper, and her fans see it and they go, yes, this is exactly how I'm feeling, like, exactly how I'm feeling, and expressing it in such a raw way. And I feel like nobody really, I'm obviously totally biased, but I just think that there's nobody really out there where I can point to a lyric and go, that is exactly how I was feeling at that time, or that's how I feel, because I feel seen because of her,
Yeah. It's funny because it's like, I agree with you. And I mean, let the stands attack. Like, I love all those other artists as well for different reasons.
Same.
But, like, the thing with Taylor is exactly what you said, is it's like, I think the reason people come back to her is it's not her sound. It's not her ability to sing, even though she is a fantastic singer. And, like, it's not kind of like the fact that, like, her dance moves or anything like that, because we all know she's kind of like a baby deer. But it's that lyrics, like, it's that one thing that she has over the top of the rest of the industry, I would argue, at least in her kind of, like, field, where it's exactly that. It's and I mean, like, we're sort of both writers, and you kind of look at it from a writer's perspective of, you want to just embellish the fuck out of everything because you're passionate and you've got so much to say and you just really want to carve something out for someone. But the thing that she does that I think is inherently mature in her writing is she uses, like, the simplest sentences to get across the most profound feelings.
Yeah, 100%.
I would kind of almost, like, she feels to me like an older musician. So, like, when you're looking back in, like, the 70s, 80s, even 90s, like, the musicians that would write all their own songs, and those young women that, sort of paved the way for music now, it's very rare to sort of get that same quality now, and especially for the past 12 years. Like, she's been doing this for, like, ridiculous amount of time, and it's been so consistent. And, like, I mean, she's kind of like Carly Simon in, like, the You're So Vain days. Like, I think that's why I like her, is it's just that, like, it's just simple, and it's like, you don't need to be down with the kids, and you don't need to be using slang, and, like, you don't need to be, like, making it complicated for people. Like, we all get it, we all feel it, and I think, she's kind of like that. And I mean, she's translated it too, just as a person, like, with her fans, and sort of being, like, just her fans' number one fan, essentially.
Yeah, because, like, she will talk about the issues that she's faced publicly. Like, she'll call out, like, her boyfriends in her lyrics. And, people, like, drag her for it or whatever. And, like, sometimes I'm just like, Taylor, let's calm down here. Like,
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, I think about it, and like back to what you were saying about MySpace stuff, you were like, writing down all your feelings on your MySpace. Like, I was doing the same thing in my blog posts.
And it was very public.
Yeah, it was very public. So it's exactly
but
the
we
same
weren't
thing.
famous.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was doing. I was like calling out like ex-boyfriends and like people I loved and people I liked in my bloody like blog post. And what she's doing is like obviously amplified because she's famous. It's exactly the same thing. And I think, speaking back to that, like, I think that as she's grown, she's like matured as a person as well, because like, let's not forget like the time she called out Joe Jonas for dumping her via text message or a 10-second phone call or whatever.
Like a phone call or something.
Yeah,
she was on Ellen.
Yeah, on Ellen. Yeah. Like, she said it on Ellen.
The biggest platform in the world, she chose to like throw down to Joe Jonas.
Yeah. And like, Joe Jonas, again, a very like big name and very public as well. So it's just like, she just did it on a very public level, whereas we just did it to the two people who read our goddamn blog and MySpace posts and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
I just like the fact that, now she has reflected on it and she's addressed all that sort of stuff. But I think even back then, she's never redacted something that she's put out into the universe.
Yeah.
And I think that plays into the trust of her and how her fans can kind of just feel like she's not like kind of screwing them over by being this person and like making them feel better about also being those people, and then like coming out in the press and being like, oh, like I didn't mean that, or like that was like whatever. Like, she's just never done it. She's just like owned it and said, you know what, that's who I am right now in this moment. That's my truth. I'm gonna say it, and I'll write a song about it in 2 years' time, and it'll come out on an album about all the shit I probably shouldn't have done.
Yeah. Like, she, like you said, like, she owned to it. Like, on her recent appearance on Ellen, during an interview, Ellen asked her, what do you regret the most in your past years? What, like, not the regret the most, I mean, one of the things you regret doing in your past. And Taylor's 100% like, when I called out Joe Jonas on your show, like, she's just like, yeah, it happened, but I was dumb and young. Like, it happens. We all do stupid, dumb, young things when we're 19 years old on a, national platform. I mean, it happens. Shit happens. Like,
yeah, shit happens.
Like, was she 19 when she did that? I don't know. I just remember her being way young. And,
she was super young, yeah.
She was super young. And, like, I kind of found it refreshing that she was just like, I'm going to address this in a mature way where I'm just going to go, I shouldn't have done it, but it happened, and that's okay.
Oh, totally. And I think, like, the redeeming aspect of her, too, is... And I don't necessarily think she gets credit, because, like, like, the media will kind of take bits and pieces that sort of fit their narrative and kind of throw it into, what the news story is. When you're that young and, like, it's still sort of translating in her lyrics now, and sort of going back to the fact that we both kind of feel like we grew with her as women, is there's never been a point where I've felt like I no longer relate to Taylor Swift. I don't know, I felt like maybe she was almost like a shield for me to the outside world, where I had this person, like I didn't feel like I could speak to my friends about certain things, and like, I'm like a gay woman and I didn't come to terms with that until I was like 19, nearly 20 years old. And when I was sort of back listening to that, like, she was like this best friend who was kind of like echoing my feelings, who almost was having like a one-sided conversation, making me feel like it's okay, I'm here with you, it's totally normal. And it's really funny because it's like, I'm 27 now, I'm still doing that. Like, you need to calm down. Holy fuck, she released something that I never thought I'd get from Taylor Swift, and I went,
oh shit,
like, good for you. Like, yes, thank you for making me still feel like like, you released this song at a point where there's people telling us that this isn't important to scream about equality anymore, because apparently we have it.
Not true.
For like someone like that, yeah, exactly, definitely not true, quite far from the truth. But like, for someone to come out like that, that no one expected to, that pretty much just, like, I don't know, like, got rid of all of her fucking Republican fans. Like, she made a big sacrifice on a big part of her fan base that may or may not come with her now.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's still standing there being like, you know what? You have my support. You have every right to be feeling objectified still. And it's like, to be able to do that at, like, 15 years old and then do that again in my life at, like, 27, that's profound to me.
Like, with Taylor Swift, the person, I'm going to choose my words carefully right now. Like, there was, like, a time, like, maybe, I would have to say, like, around when Trump, like, announced his campaign and all that shit started coming out and happening, I was kind of, like, the best metaphor I think I can come up with is, like, you know how sometimes you have those friends where, you know, they're your ride or die, and then one day, like, you realize, oh no, this friendship is not going the way I thought it was going to go. I think I might have to take a break from them as a friend. Because, like, that happened to me. I had a best friend. I've had a best friend for, like, 13 years. And, like, there was a year, like, when I was in my early 20s where I was just, like, we just kind of didn't really have a fallout, but we just stopped talking to each other for a year. And that's kind of what happened with me and Taylor, is that for a year I kind of was just, like, on a personal level, I was just like, I'm looking at this situation and I'm going, Taylor girl, you gotta step up.
Yeah.
There's something needs to happen here. Like, I need you to choose a side. And I know that, you know, people are like, you know, she doesn't have to choose a side if she doesn't want to. But I also think that she has this platform where she could influence a lot of young people and a lot of people's vote and stuff like that, that I feel like she kind of on a level had a responsibility to talk about, which I get why she didn't. I understand that. I appreciate that. But I'm also like, you know, that's kind of, to me, a really core thing that I believe in, that, you know, women's rights weren't going the way we wanted. The queer community wasn't going the way I wanted. That conversation wasn't going the way I wanted. All those kind of things. And I was just like, oh, Taylor, I don't know. Maybe I should, like, you know, maybe I'll come back one day when you have figured out where you stand on those issues. But, like, still musically, I was still getting on board with the Taylor Swift train. Like, I was, like, all there for her music and stuff like that. But, like, I took a little bit of a break and now I'm back again. Because I think that I see what she's trying to do with TS7 and I'm like, yes, girl, I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. I love that you're using your voice. But the thing is, like, I think she also had to I think she also had to grow into that role. Like, it's really scary being a voice for your generation. To be someone who stands up in the face of your fan base, you know, she's got a fan base that probably is Republican, like, because she's from a country music background, like, and, you know, very popular fan, like, a lot of fans probably do come from the red states, let's be honest. And it takes someone strong, and it takes a while for someone to get their head around taking a stand against something that maybe her fans won't agree with. And I totally get that now. But I'm also, like, relieved that she's decided this is what she wants to do. And she's chosen this issue.
I agree. Like hindsight is 20/20, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, it's the same, like, as people, we look back on things and just go, oh shit, okay, it all makes sense now. Like, but I mean, we're living in such a, you know, tumultuous time, especially in the Trump era. Like, we're Australian and we're suffering from it on our end too. Like, our politics are going in a very similar manner. You know, we went through an equality vote here, for fuck's sake. Like, you know, the last few years have been rocky. And it's funny that, like, because, I mean, it's not funny because we do have sort of a lot in common in sort of how we think and sort of our perspective on certain things, especially politically. But I was completely with you, and I don't think I really realised why. But I also sort of had my falling out with Taylor around the same time. And it probably was a little bit because, you know, like, I don't know, there was like, sort of on her end, there was so much like celebrity drama and a new album and all that sort of shit that sort of spoke to the 2 years previous to that, like most of her albums did. And I think at the time I was like, okay, cool, this is great, like, still love your music, but dude, like, we need you.
Exactly.
To not have my gal there
Yeah.
made me feel like I had maybe grown apart, like I'd grown on, or I'd maybe outgrown her, and she was still the old Taylor that I needed back then.